and welcome to Youth in Sports, where every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. we feature special guests from near and far. The program is sponsored by ATI Physical Therapy, providing certified athletic trainers to more than 30 area high schools and colleges. First State Orthopedics, the team taking care of Delaware with a commitment to excellence. And Wilmington University, where Youth in Sports is produced by the College of Technology's students and faculty. And now, from the studio at President Jack Barcelona's Wilmington University, your hosts for Youth in Sports, ALSSM Mr. Sports Medicine 2012, Dr. Michael Axe, UD and St. Elizabeth's own Dr. Joseph Strait, and co-founder of Youth in Sports, Mr. Walter Laudine.
Good evening. Welcome to Youth in Sports. I'm Walter Laudine, and a good show tonight, and it's very topical. Joe?
Hi, I'm Dr. Joseph Strait from First State Orthopedics. I'd like to congratulate Tom Gordon and Dennis Williams on their recent election wins. Mike?
Dr. Michael Axe at First State Orthopedics, and this show will come after the Turkey Roundup, but we're glad that First State could be part of helping to feed the hungry and generating with our folks to get it done at 94/7.
That's what we did last year, right?
We did.
1,000 turkeys?
Easily that.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got to get one. Well, we're going to talk tonight about the Limen House, which is a state-run and also funded by personal donations. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. We're going to talk to Rick Hidalgo, same as the horse.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to talk to Sean McCauley. Let's talk to Rick first. Rick, you're a former resident of the Limen House?
That is correct.
And how long ago were you there?
A little over a year ago.
And what got you there? What was your...
I guess you could say, well, it started off with just, recreational pot use, I guess you could say. But, it graduated throughout time over a few years to, more pill use, really anything, I guess you could say. Just about anything that would make me feel any different than how I felt, So in the end, what it looked like, I guess, was of course the pill use, but then it graduated to harder drugs, I guess,
right.
Heroin, and I resorted to that because it was cheaper. So
that is the case too, isn't it?
It
heroin is cheaper.
Yeah.
Rick, tell us what Limen House is. First of all, what is it? Where is it?
It's a halfway house, correct? That's the proper, I guess, term for it. So it's a halfway house for men, and then they have a women's house as well that basically teaches you how to live again. It's in the city of Wilmington. It's
600 West 10th Street.
600 West 10th Street, that is correct. So it's right in the heart of the city. And it basically teaches clients how to live again.
And it's for all addictions, as we...
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Age group?
All. I mean, I guess after
How's the
18,
youngest?
18 would be the youngest, yeah. So.
Now, do you go there from a drug rehabilitation center?
Most cases do. Yeah, I actually did not. I was fortunate enough to be able to come from, my parents' house where I was. I was no longer able to stay there after, a couple different events, I guess, it happened. So, I resorted to anything, I would do anything at that point.
Who was the person that recognized you were having problems first in your family?
First. Everybody but me. It was...
You didn't think you were having a problem?
No, not in the beginning. No, not at all.
Well, what kind of, like, for example, how old are you?
I'm 24 now.
How old were you when you started drugs? Were you in high school?
15. I was.
Oh, okay.
I was about 10th grade. Yeah.
Now, how prevalent is it in the school system?
I would say pretty prevalent, more than most would think, I guess.
Yeah, but you were a wrestler in high school.
I was. I played a lot of sports. And that's actually, I started smoking pot with the guys on the team, on the weekends.
Right.
And just out at parties and everything, and
It seems like that's the norm today. When you go to a party, it's to get high. You're either going to drink beer or whatever, You're
Yeah.
going to smoke weed or you're going to do something else.
Yeah, it was
And-
And it
actually.
starts in high school. It's through
Oh,
college. I mean,
junior high
it's-
school.
It's amazing.
Yeah, sometimes.
You know, we've had over 6,000 young people on the show. And I remember the first 1,000 maybe, I would ask them, I'd say, look, for my own edification, do you know where to go if you wanted to get drugs? And one girl said no, but I know she said it because she didn't. And I said, no, it's just for my own information. And the thing that strikes me is really strange, because this problem hits close to home for me. The reason that I find this so strange is that if the kids in junior high school know where to go to get drugs, why doesn't the proper authorities know? And I really think it's just like prohibition, that they're never going to stop it. I mean, I just believe.
Where did you find it available when you were in 10th grade when you first started?
At the time, I guess it was teammates and people from class, really.
When was the first time you actually paid money, though, to contribute toward it?
Homecoming, 10th grade year. You know,
10th grade.
I drank alcohol that same night and smoked pot at the same time.
Like, how would you get the alcohol?
It was usually older people, you know, I mean seniors most of the time, or
Well, they had to get it from
They got it from somebody else.
yeah, probably, you know.
And
You
I'm
didn't
guessing
get
it
it,
got
right?
kind of
Yeah,
passed
yeah.
down the way even the marijuana and
Yeah.
stuff got passed down the way.
Yeah, I paid way too much for it. I'm joking.
Didn't, though, your parents recognize the smell when you got home? Because there is a distinct odor from marijuana that unless you've never smelled it before, you definitely know what you're smelling when you arrive. And,
Yeah.
and you're usually not in the state to hide it because you really don't care at that point.
Right. So usually what I would do was I was pretty sneaky with it. So, you know, I always did pretty well in school. Like I said,
Your grades weren't really affected?
They weren't suffering. No, especially not at the time.
And you
9th,
played
10th grade.
sports?
Yeah. And, you know, varsity wrestling and all that. And I made everything look like it was okay, doing well. You know,
Is this the
everything was
norm
normal.
for your friends too?
Some of them it was.
Like, isn't it strange that, you know, you can take one marijuana cigarette or one beer or something and you get addicted, and you have friends that do it on the weekend and
Yeah.
no problem. Like, I'm a smoker, and I'm not proud of it, but I'm a smoker. And the ones that really irritate me are the ones, oh, let me borrow a cigarette. I said, don't you smoke? Don't you have cigarettes?
Yeah.
Oh, I only smoke like once a week. Those kind of people just, you know, because they don't get addicted.
Right.
But most people do.
Yeah,
Most
it's
people
true.
do.
And I believe the thing is, you know, there's something different within my body that, you know, when I add this other substance to it, there's like an allergic reaction, I guess you could say, to it, and just craves more, you know.
Neurochemical response that you have to it. It makes your
Definitely.
body want it and need it.
Rick, how did the Limen House help you? It seems to me that you've been clean now for 2 years.
Yeah, a little over.
And how did the Limen House? Usually, let me emphasize that what Rick's done is not the norm. Usually a person that is a hardcore drug, and I'm going to talk to Sean about that, has to hit really rock bottom and really need help. They have no avenues. Their parents throw them out. Their friends won't have them. They've gone through all their saving. They have no money. And basically they go to a rehab center, which a lot of times they can't afford, so they have to go to some state-owned ones. And then after that, they go to a place like the Limen House. You were very lucky to be able to go to the Limen House before you went to a rehab facility.
I actually did go to a rehab. I actually got a DUI when I was 18.
You did?
And that kind of kicked it all off. You know, after I had that DUI, well, actually right before that was when things really started to surface with the, you know, all the problems that were coming up.
Right,
and,
right.
you know, I started to realize that maybe something's going on that's, you know, different from everybody else. So
You really didn't suspect that, oh, gee, I really have a problem.
No, not at all. At the time,
Okay.
I thought that, you know, everybody else that I surrounded myself with was doing the same
Doing the same
thing.
thing.
So everything was the same, and we're the like bodies, and we're doing the same thing, so everybody must be doing
It
it.
seemed normal.
Girls as much as boys?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. That's a. Usually you would think girls are a little bit more mature. Maybe they wouldn't do that, but it's not the case, is it?
I don't believe so.
What made you agree to go?
To the Lyman House or to rehab
To
the
start
first
in
time?
rehab and then to the Limen House?
Well, after the DUI, I was told to go to a drug and alcohol counseling and, you know, do the whole 9 yards to get my license back, and that's all I had to do. But that wasn't so easy for me to do. So, you know, I would go in to the drug and alcohol counseling and, you know, Brandywine counseling, Open Door in Wilmington, and I would start that off, and then, you know, I could only stay clean for maybe a couple weeks, and then, you know, I would go in the next time, and, you know, I'd get kicked out because I was using or drinking, and then go to another place and, you know, do the same thing. And I did that for, you know, a year or a year and a half or so. And
Where were you
know,
living at this time? At home?
At my parents' house.
And
yeah.
they did not realize that you were doing this, or?
I think they realized, but I wasn't really home enough for them to do anything about it.
What were you doing? Were you working, or?
Yeah, I worked, or I would just stay at other friends' house. You know, I just wouldn't come home when I was recognizably impaired, I guess, you know.
And how did the Lyman House accept you? I mean, here you had you've not really done the rehab that you're supposed to, and yet you got into a halfway house. How did you accomplish that?
Well, I knew I had been to rehab, so had been to the detoxes like you were talking about,
right?
And you know, I knew this time, you know, I had to do something drastic because nothing else, smaller changes weren't working for me. So I knew a guy that was friends with one of the counselors there.
Okay.
And he called me randomly one day and asked me if I wanted to go to a meeting, and I told him no, but I went anyway. And he started talking to me about the Lyman House, and he had known me before when I was clean after rehab the first time, and he said, why don't you try something like this out? Why don't you do something I guess like less comfortable, I guess you could say. And I really thought about it for a while, and I talked to him a couple days later, I think, and just told him, okay, I think I might want to talk to these guys. And from there, I called him every single day for a month, just to show some commitment. Right. And I had 2 interviews, and after the second one.
Oh, you had 2 interviews.
Yeah,
okay.
I did.
Okay.
And after the second one, I was told that I was able to.
All right, we got less than like 30 seconds left. First of all, Rick, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing this with you, because it's real important, and it's a big problem, and I've got strong feelings about it, and I know it's a problem with the youth of today, and even with not only the youth, but with everyone. And it's certainly not just alcohol and drugs, or the drugs we know about. It's also the pills that are dispensed, and they're easily obtained. I mean, I know how people go into Florida to get different kinds of pain medication. And certainly our sports athletes, they have a problem with it too. We're going to come back with Rick, and we're going to talk to Sean McCauley, who's also a counselor there, when we come back right after this.
I will keep dancing on point, even if it hurts.
My arm is killing me. I don't know if I can pitch another ball. But I'll just play through the pain anyway.
I have to do the big stunts. To look better than the other cheerleaders. Our tosses are bigger.
My elbow really aches, but I've got to keep better.
Don't tell them it hurts. They'll take you out of the game if you do. I have to push harder if I'm going to get a scholarship. I'm feeling dizzy, but I don't want to tell anyone.
Everyone's counting on me. I can't rest now.
Nearly 50% of all sports injuries sustained by middle and high school students are from overuse. Don't play through the pain. See your healthcare provider and follow their instructions for rest and recovery. Take the pledge. Become an advocate for sports safety. Visit stopsportsinjuries.org.
Hi, we're back on Youth in Sports. We're talking about a really topical topic today. We're talking about the Limen House, which is a drug halfway house. Am I saying that right? Is it a rehabilitation or is it a halfway house?
Halfway house.
Halfway house, okay. And we've got Rick Hidalgo and Sean McCauley. Sean is also a counselor. I want to keep on with Rick for a while because...
I think we should go to Sean.
You want me to go to Sean?
Yeah, I think so. I think because Sean will give us a better overview of what the house is about.
Okay,
and then
Sean.
he can talk to...
Well, we'll get them both. But Sean, you are a counselor at the Limen House.
Yes.
How long have you been a counselor, Sean?
3 years at Limen House.
And you were also a former client.
Former client.
Client, I like the word client. That sounds better.
Full circle.
And what was your addiction, if you don't mind my asking?
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
Yep.
Isn't that the case, though, today? Both of you? A little bit of everything.
What drove you to it, though, Sean? What made you get started down that track? Frustration? What was it, success or lack of it, that drove you in that direction?
For me, honestly, it's a great question. What I feel like was that Rick kind of touched base with it, the genetical situation.
Got it.
When I first had a drink of alcohol,
there you go.
My body reacted in a way that something didn't seem normal. Something happened, but I was not aware to what that meant. So it just...
Did it make you happy, fun, more outgoing, or did it make you more angry, or
it
what did you like about it?
made me feel connected, made me feel like something was finally put into place as if it were a solution, that it fit. Now...
Was there something else going on in your life at that time? You know, one of the things that Walter will talk to later is that the frustration of a star high school athlete that no longer plays and no longer has the recognition that he had, that they were the best 3 or 4 years of his life or her life, and now has to go out into the world and have their ego boosted in other ways. Right. And sometimes that fails us. That you have to find a new calling. Fortunately for myself, playing high school sports was an avenue for me to take care of high school athletes. So I'm happy with the transition. I've never had to leave it, but I'm the exception to the rule. And unfortunately, there's other people out there that haven't had that success and aren't able to do that. So kind of, both of you have agreed or have thought that it did something to your system that made you a different person than you were, and you've concluded since that time that you didn't like the person you became.
That's correct. Good. Well said.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I took diet pills. I remember when I was driving horses, I raced horses, and it was always about, keeping your weight down. Mm-hmm. So I took diet pills. And I never thought that diet pills were really a drug. But I know that when I was in OCS, Special Forces had a pill that would keep you up for 4 days. It would double dexatrin. And one of my Special Forces buddy, when I took the PT test for OCS, he gave me one of these pills, and I ran a 6-minute mile. And I probably still would have been running. And the fact is, I thought I could write the All-American novel after I took that pill. So I had some, I'm thinking I'm taking these diet pills, and the same thing is happening. Really, I could write poetry, and I could do anything. And those are the kind of things that I think we're talking. When you talk about some of the greatest writers in Hollywood and in New York on screen and stage, Alan Sorkin, I mean, he's a drug abuser. And a lot of them are, because what's the serotonin, or what's that?
Serotonin.
Serotonin. They say it gives you a serotonin boost, and all of a sudden you're creative. But like Mike said, you feel better about yourself. What happens is, the more you take them and coming down from them, that's when...
Well, it isn't always the case, though. What you're feeling to be true could be the furthest from the truth. The people that are watching you understand that is not the case. But you're just not aware of it.
That's what you were feeling.
Let's get back to the Limen House. Exactly. So this has been... one of the things that we like to do on this show is help people support themselves. And we understand that you have personal funding, okay? And obviously from clients that have been successful, if they can turn their lives around, they become your biggest advocates to go out there, both fiscally and also to talk to the positive nature. But you only have 16 spots. How long is your waiting list?
Waiting list is pretty steady, but you'd be surprised. the amount of calls that we get, the amount of people, I would say half our calls that we get are from parents.
Sure they are.
To
From
find
loved ones.
out if you can.
The first response
try to
that
help
we
out.
usually have is, we do what we can for the parent, for the loved one, whoever's calling, but primarily, where's Johnny? Johnny needs to
Right,
call.
Johnny needs to come.
check in, because more than not, we'll never hear from Johnny.
Sean, what?
Like the family's desiring usually first, like Rick was saying, he was in denial for a long time. The family is looking to do something, but we're.
Well, help the family right now. What are the first three things? If you have a child that you fear has an issue,
Right.
what should that family member do? How can they get the ball rolling? I know they have to get the child in, but they need some reassurance. So I'm sure you have 3 do's. Do this, and do this. What are the 3 things the parent should do?
For me, first thing that I'm doing to try to help them is to be a good listener, to be there because they need to say whatever they need to say at the time. So just to kind of be available to them. Usually,
So do talk, okay? That's the first thing. Do
Yeah,
talk.
let-
Get it out, explain what the problem is.
Yeah.
Then what?
Again, try to find a solution for the son or for the situation in whatever angle it can, because that could be a different, multifaceted sort of direction that could go to.
Do you funnel them into a rehab?
There's detoxes and rehab.
Detox,
Yeah,
right.
the situations, whatever the circumstances are.
I mean, that's the usual, you're going to the detox before you come to the Limen
Sure,
house.
yeah.
Well, what advice do you give parents to try to get their son or daughter to a detox facility or a rehab facility?
It's a tough thing to do. Honestly, the last thing I'll say, and usually I don't say it most of the time, is Al-Anon. Is the parent needing, because usually they're stressed and overwhelmed about the situation
Right.
to such an extent that really they don't see that they're the ones that themselves need help.
Right.
Because your baby is hurting and in major distress, and they need their support to work through that level of powerlessness.
And how many
that's going
parents have divorces to deal with a son or a daughter that has a problem?
No, usually the parents are divorced and you have 2 parents that are...
Well, that way, but
Yeah, it's-
the other time too, Mike, when they are married, it's your fault, it's my fault, it's your fault, it's my fault.
on? Yeah, there's a lot of dynamics there. A
There
lot.
is. What's the process for getting into the Limen house?
Limen House, first thing we'll do is somebody is coming from a referral source, that's easy. Most referral sources local know what we're asking for. Basic paperwork, certain things, the criteria that the state were monitored, so we need things to come in so we can assess appropriately. They'll come in and do an interview with the counselors, and by coming in and doing that face-to-face interview, obviously we get a pretty direct
Yeah,
availability.
but you know that drug users are the greatest liars in the world.
But there's nobody better to potentially see that than another drug
Previous.
user.
There you go.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
There you go.
So
Right.
it's a good thing.
Right.
We can sort of see
And
it.
Well
most,
said.
most of the counselors are usually previous users or residents that have been through the program.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
How
Now-
many counselors?
We got 3 counselors at the men's house, 2 counselors at the women's house.
Have all 3 counselors been former had problems?
Well, I wouldn't want to necessarily
Oh,
disclose.
no, I'm
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't really mean to put
just
you.
out of, yeah.
You're admitting that you did, and that's enough.
that's
I
where
got
I
it.
can go today.
That's all you should
And we,
do.
and we appreciate that.
Understandable.
We appreciate that. As a matter of fact, when I was downstairs waiting for you guys, one of the kids that pulled up said to hi to me was a former addict that was on the show and talked about his addiction, and we blacked out his face. And I asked him, "Are you coming on the show tonight with the Limen House?" He said, "No, I'm going to an accounting class." I said, "Good for you. He's been clean for 4 years."
Great job.
How
So,
does the
yeah.
program work? That's the big, like, can you have to be sober? Or can you be coming out of rehab where you're not sober? Or how's it work?
Most of the guys coming there are coming in sober from a rehab or some sort of situation.
You're not taking them if they're not sober.
No, it's rare. If somebody's not sober, there would be some special dynamics where they would be calling, kind of like what Rick had mentioned, where they're calling the counselor
Right.
semi-daily, whatever, to kind of stay in contact so we can make sure they are going to do certain things we're asking them to do. But for the most part, they're coming in from a treatment referral.
How about the program?
Program
While they're there,
itself,
while they're a resident, what do they have to go through while they're there?
that's a great process that I think Limen House has a really an amazing gift within that facility. As much as we're termed a halfway house, most halfway houses, you're going to come there and really kind of start work and begin your actual transitioning
Right.
almost right out of the gate. with Limen House, what we've seen is the level and the power of this disease to such a level that the 28-day program, or wherever most guys are coming from, is really but a grain of sand and needs further treatment. So once they come in, they're going to do the one thing usually that an addict or alcoholic does not want to do, and that's sit still. Hardest thing for most of us to do, sit still, breathe, feel feelings, do the stuff that's very uncomfortable, and in the meantime, they're doing other things. They're doing step work, they're doing case management type, wreckage of the past stuff. Meeting with a counselor once a week to build, for usually maybe the first time, a relationship that's starting to grow in intimacy and in validity, to work through some of that denial, minimizing.
Do they all eat together? Do you all eat together?
All eat together. It's a family dynamic dinner table.
Somebody cook?
Guys themselves cook.
Okay,
Right.
so you're assigned duties, cook or clean?
Assigned duties in the house. Everybody has a chore. Everybody cooks once during the week. Really trying to get them to be responsible and to start the interaction process.
How about the rooms themselves? Single rooms, double rooms?
Both. So usually double rooms in the beginning, and once the progression is shown, stability starts to come forward, then usually somebody's going to get a single room.
If someone reverts back and they bring some substance in that they're not supposed to, is the expectation of the roommate or whomever, the honor system
code,
is one that
yeah.
they turn them in?
It's a pretty tight, 15 beds, 16 beds, so it's pretty small. We're really a tight family there. There are 2 senior residents that we have that are always in the house, so they're usually with the addict, there's something that's going to show up pretty quick.
Well, it's
So
like
once
kids,
something-
everybody knows.
It
In
doesn't
school,
take
everybody
Everybody's
knows.
supporting each other to get better.
Correct.
Right.
Urine checks? No urine checks?
Oh, yes. Urine checks just to make sure, because
How often?
weekly, day, whatever needs to be done based on clients' behaviors, thoughts, things like that.
Is there any medical involvement? People coming in to talk about depression, anxiety, other psychosocial things, or?
Yeah. We have education groups, group therapy, the individual counselor sessions, so there's always outside groups coming in for further help to go over these things.
We've only got like 15 seconds in this segment, and we've got all kinds of stuff to talk about, but and we're going to get to them, and I want you guys to think about anything that you think you need to say before. This will be our 3rd segment right after this.
What does opportunity mean to you? At Wilmington University, it means providing a personalized educational experience where students learn anywhere at any time. Wilmington University provides a variety of ways to complete your degree. Choose the flexibility of online learning, or attend classes during the day, in the evening, or on weekends at locations throughout the region. It's your degree. Choose how you earn it. Personalized education, affordable tuition. That's the difference at Wilmington University. What does opportunity mean to you? At Wilmington University, it means finding an innovative degree program that fits your goals and prepares you for a successful career. It means finding a school that fits your life. We know the importance of providing individual attention, affordable tuition, and unparalleled flexibility and service. Because at Wilmington University, it's not about meeting your expectations, it's about exceeding them. Personalized education, affordable tuition, that's the difference at Wilmington University.
Hi, we're back on Youth in Sports. We're on our 3rd segment already. We're talking to Rick and Sean about the Limen House, which is located right in Wilmington.
10th Street, 641 10th?
600 West 10th Street.
600 West 10th. How long has the Limen House been in operation?
Over 40 years.
Is that right?
Yep.
Is it called for one of the former counselors or one of your big benefactors?
For Limen House, the name? Limen, from what little I know, is termed threshold. So stepping into change, stepping into transition, ready to make.
Is it syndicated national?
No,
Just the local?
just the local, just that.
40 years, wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
It's funny because, you didn't think about addicts 40 years ago.
Yeah.
When I was a
But
kid,
they were always in the game.
yeah, right. But when I was a kid, I remember when I went into horses, the first thing I did was smoked. I didn't smoke in high school, and I hated my father smoking and this and that, but when I was walking hots when I first started, I started smoking, and I got addicted. Yeah, they say that smoking is probably one of the hardest drugs nicotine's one of the hardest drugs to get rid of. Maybe I need to go in the Limen house for that. But the fact is that I know that in rehab, that 70%, no matter what the rehab facility, 70% they
Can't stay clean.
They relapse.
They relapse. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
I can't think of words anymore. They relapse, and usually the second or third time is when it's successful. Did you relapse, Rick?
After the Limen house?
Yeah, when you were in the
No.
line? Never.
No, after my regular 30-day program, when I was
Where did you take
18,
the 30-day program?
Bowling Green in
Bowling Green.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I know where that is. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that
Yeah,
goes
then-
back to what Sean said, that 30 days really
Yeah,
is
but
not,
that's what
it's a grain of
insurance pays
sand.
for.
Yeah,
30
exactly.
days.
Well,
They
that
have a
gets-
program with pilots where they'll give them one shot, and there's a ton of pilots, and if they do it the second time, they can't fly anymore. But it's funny because there's a lot of people that, politicians and athletes, and they're stocked. And
That gets into talking about we're talking about insurance coverage and cost of it. It's funded, but what is it to these guys to go?
For the clients of Limen House, there's no fees whatsoever to come into Limen House. The way that it works, it's funded through contributors and through other aspects, which the community is really aware of what goes on at Limen House. But we do ask that when the clients come in that they're responsible. We have the ability to give them part-time work, outside work that comes in, just based on somebody needing their yard mowed or something to happen. So guys will get some pocket money, and based on that, there's a scale that they'll start to pay a little responsibility to the house. But other than that, the
So
house
the insurance pays for the 30 days, like you were saying, for rehab, but they don't pay for the
towards the
year
halfway.
plus that some of these guys.
Yep.
Well, I want to know what Sean and Rick think. One of my pet peeves is that I know we spent $1 billion on drug enforcement. The DEA is running around, with their
we
black
got it, Walter.
suits and their
Keep
guns, and they're not going to stop drugs. Just like
No, we got it.
we
What's the
made
question?
billionaires of Al Capone and Dutch Schultz for prohibition.
Yeah.
We're not going to stop drugs, but we don't spend a fraction of the money for the rehab, and that's my big pet peeve. Now, what do you guys think about that? I mean, I'm sure you guys have talked about that.
Oh, they're beyond the rehab part of it. They're now to the point where these folks are looking for a way to be directional.
But I know they have friends that are going into rehab or should go into rehab and know that there's not enough facilities for them. They have to wait and wait and wait, and God knows what's going to happen in the interim while they're waiting, just like the ones waiting to get into your place.
Yeah, there's not enough counselors.
No.
I mean,
It's tough. Addiction is everywhere, and there's a lot going on. The shorter beginning programs, the 28-day programs, are there to, it helps separate them from the disease for a minute, but a lot of the referrals that we'll get are going to be based on whether that client is still trying to continue to grow in his sobriety, or whether he really did just want to do a break, and take a time out and not really go further with treatment.
How many of your clients are not religious?
Not religious. That I don't even know.
Well, you're talking about a higher power. That's what Mike's
No, I'm asking, is that part of the program?
Religion is a little tricky. I mean, we're a little careful with that concept. Most of the guys coming in are just really in such a fog and in such a state that we really want to sort of move that simpler forward, slow process. The form of, I love saying this, man, the form of religion that we bring to the table is a counselor and a client sitting in an office and beginning to build a relationship of honesty and trust.
Got it.
And developing, community.
It's the best
Because,
religion you can have at that point.
When we had-
it's
It is.
basic, it really is. It
When
really
we
is.
had the four here that talked about addiction, one of the things that he said, and he said it eloquently, he said, it doesn't have to be religion, it has to be a higher power. So, it could be aliens. I mean, whatever you believe in, it could be, you got to believe in something that there's a higher power.
One of the easier aspects is anything other than me.
Right.
Okay? It's got to be a power greater than me.
Right.
So it's we, 1 + 1, whatever it is. Just
No, I like the
Rick
concept.
talked about this earlier.
Right.
He talked about a higher power and how he felt, and that's where he goes. Tell us about it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I today have a really strong, I guess, connection, or with a higher power. That's mainly where I get my strength to do anything or everything that I do today. I mean, it's not like a fearing God kind of religious view on a higher power. I call it God, but just for to make it simple for me, But it's really like he said. It's not me. I know that there's a better way out there to do things, and really the way that I see God is just add another O to it, and it's just good. Doing good. Doing the right thing. Living a good life. Because I think that that's what I'm here for, and it's. I feel like it gives me some kind of like purpose, to keep going.
We talked about it before. I think we were off camera at the time, though. When you feel that you're having a bad day, when you feel like okay, I'm at risk, and one of the things that I think is really important for all people that have any issues is to know what situations put them most at risk and do your best to avoid those situations. If parties are the issue, okay, and so you talk about, you said to us that you find your own niche and you ask for help from your person that's a higher power, and you move on, okay, and that seems to be the. But do you go to parties? You still go to parties?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I didn't stop having fun when I got sober.
Well, that was a point that I wanted people to understand.
Yeah,
you don't stop,
man.
because you can't hide. Because if you stop having fun, it's not going to last.
Yeah, seriously. The whole point, I believe, of sobriety is to find a way to live comfortably and sober at the same time. And, the higher power thing has been the biggest thing for it, but otherwise, it's just learning to live rightly so that I don't have any reason. Life is so good that I have no reason to go out there and try to make myself feel better.
Well, there's an old adage that misery loves company. And what I want to know is when you have friends or past friends or acquaintances that are still having a problem or don't really have a problem, but they're like to, drink or get high.
We're going to have to go to a break here, and we'll be back right after this.
I know they never make me play with these guys, but why do they make me train like them?
Training hard is important, and for professional athletes, it's their job. But kids aren't professionals and shouldn't train at that level. Keep kids safe on the playing field and out of the operating room. Become an advocate for sports safety. Visit StopSportsInjuries.org.
Hi, we're back on Youth in Sports, and we're talking to Sean and Rick about the Limen House. And where we stopped, one of the things that we wanted to bring up was the community The fact is, a lot of times when there's any kind of a house, like a rehab house or whatever, in a neighborhood, a lot of the people would be, you know, up and, you're decreasing our property value, blah, blah, blah. But you don't seem to get any of that because you are benefit to the neighborhood. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. When we go outside the house, I've actually had people come up and say, that's what's up. Knowing that the Limen House is doing something positive, knowing that there's something in the community that is showing light to hope, to change, there's usually a level of respect that comes to that within the community.
What examples of things that you guys are doing in the communities?
Everything. All the local churches know us well, so we're interactive with the churches, whether it's volunteer work, whether it's some side jobs the guys might get. Just everything, really. I mean, it's just pretty engaged as far as other organizations coming over, seeing what we do, us helping them in any ways that we can try to do to help them too.
You said that the average stay is how long in the Limen House? You said it varies, but what's your range? From how many weeks to how many weeks?
3 months to a year.
3 months to a year.
However, the year, based on if a client is really engaged and is doing what he needs to do.
Any of them return to school? Any of them go?
Definitely. GED is completed all the time. Training classes are completed while at Limen House, so there's a large aspect that really does happen.
And of course, with the 15 or 16 individuals that you have, there's a they have different skill sets.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So obviously, your facility, we talked about meals earlier, that everybody cooks at least once a week, and once a week, that was my Lancaster coming out there once a week, and that they also the cleanups, everybody has a cleanup responsibility, and laundry, and making they're responsible for themselves, making their beds and so forth, correct?
Definitely. One of the first things for addicts, alcoholics is we are so self-absorbed. It is just the nature of the beast. And coming into the house, one of the first things we start to do is to help guys to start to see outside. Whatever that is, whether it's literally fixing up Limen House itself, painting a room, engaging donations, clothes, all kinds of stuff, helping the guys to start to begin to form group activity, selfless activity.
Right. You were there about a year, correct?
Yes.
And did you learn any new skills, trades while you were there from the other guys in the house, or?
Definitely. Well, when we were out on jobs, you know, we would do demolition, and we would, you know, demolish and rebuild bathrooms, and you know, do all kinds of things like that. You know, I worked at least 10 times, I would say. You know, remodeling homes and you know, things like that. That was pretty awesome. You know, it's something that I've never done before, certainly. But you know, things like that, and you know, also normal things like Sean was talking about, just you know, everyday stuff, like, you know, learning to cook. You know, I cooked for, you know, like 12 to 16 guys, which is crazy. You know, it's a lot of food. But you know, and it was edible. But you know, and just normal things like that, you know, that I just never adapted to.
You've been out for 2 years now, you said?
About a little over a year.
A little over a year. Mm-hmm. What have you done since you've been out?
A lot. I started off, I was working just at a cafe. You know, as I was transitioning out of the house, and it was really tough. But you know, to just take, you know, like a basically minimal pay, you know, but also paying rent. You know, I was able to you know, live on my own with that, and you know, I finally got a new job. I was patient with it, and you know, waited that out. You know, I just applied for school, you know, actually here, so hopefully that'll go through.
Congratulations.
You know, get into college. That's something that I thought that I would really never do. Didn't seem obtainable.
Do you have any ambition? Do you know something that you might want to do?
I've always thought about teaching. I've also, you know, I paint, I draw. You know, I started doing that as well when I was in the house. I didn't do that for a long time, and that's like a passion of mine. So
Why did it take a year? Why did you feel that you needed a year at the Limen House?
As
opposed to 6 months or 9 months?
Yeah, at the time when I started at the Limen House, it was a year commitment.
Okay.
So I committed to a year. I was willing to do anything.
No, I got it.
Whatever,
so that was the program.
At the time, it was the program.
So it isn't just, you would like to have all your clients a year, Sean?
If possible. I mean, that's what you would want to do, but there's plenty of dynamics where
I understand, but that's the schedule.
Oh, of course. If the longer somebody is in recovery, As long as the longer
better.
somebody's in
Right.
treatment,
The better
chances for results.
How's your relationship with your parents now?
My parents, great. It's awesome. Yeah, the same.
How long did it take
parents.
from the time you got into Limen House to that to refoster itself?
I would say I don't know the time length, but I would say after 10 or 6 months or so. I mean, I still called them, often. The first.
Are they
few
allowed to
months.
come visit?
To the Limen House?
Yes.
They are. After a certain period of time, they came for Christmas and all that stuff, and I also visited them on, weekend passes and things like that.
So you have that.
We started to redevelop a relationship after, some months, and now, it's pretty cool. The same house that I was like getting kicked out of, like they gave me the keys to it again, and just regain trust.
So what have you fixed up at the house for them?
My dad is a handyman. He does everything. They have a nice house, so I'll offer to cut the grass, but he's, I'll just do it the way I like it. So
I know fathers like that.
Well, it seems to me that the reason we're doing the Limen House is because Gus Chikala, who is the husband of one of the co-hosts we had on for years, told me about it, and he said, "What do you think about the Limen?" I said, "It's great." I said, let's find out about it, and if they want to come on, we'd love to have them. And you guys came on, and I can't believe how candid you guys have been. We really appreciate it because it's a real problem. What I want to know is how many places like the Limen House are there in Delaware?
None in the U.S., in the world, I don't think.
Is that true?
I'm a former client too, and my heart is with Limen House. There's some good magic that goes on in that house.
But you don't see it. You don't see any kind of affiliation. Like you would think that even the state would say, "Hey, this place, it's doing good. Let's have one in Dover," and
right. There's probably some thoughts that have been going for that. I'm sure the board has had discussions in those areas and things like that.
Right.
But that's broader for me.
Right. You're not worried about that. But I would think, Mike, Joe, wouldn't you think that would be a state issue where they say, "Hey, this place has success. Let's."
Well, certainly, the Limen House is only bringing in. I didn't know about it. I've been here.
I didn't know about it either.
I've been here 27 years. Joe was born here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never knew about
Never left. So therefore, I'm learning something about it. But certainly, you have a success and a track record that's pretty doggone good that other people would want to emulate if they were going to start places like this. I still have issues with your funding, though. I would think that it's hard to keep 16 people full and all the. You have 3 counselors, and I assume you guys get paid.
Yep.
You have. Do you live in the house?
Do not live in a house. We're there in sort of flexible hours in a sense. You got to be around the clock available, but for the most part, it's the 9 to 5, dynamic that's going on Monday through Friday. The guys are, again, the senior residents are there, so they're sort of monitoring things, and we're a phone call away or a short drive away from showing up. And
Are the senior residents also addicts that are just at a further part?
Yes, they're clients that are in the house that are just further in their process. That's all. Yep.
What's the dynamics of, for example, how many people are there for a year, and is there a dynamic where now we're taking the month, the new people, and there's the middle group that have been there 6 months, and then there's a clientele that's been there 8, 9 months?
Some clients are coming from the state facility Gateway downstate, so they've been usually if they're down at Gateway.
Now that's a rehabilitation or a detox, or?
No, that's the state treatment center that detox would refer clients to from Delaware.
Okay.
So the clients that are going to detox.
That's a halfway house, Gateway?
Not a halfway house, treatment. It's a treatment center.
How long do you stay at Gateway?
4 to 6 months.
Really? Is that a state-run facility?
Yep.
Okay.
That's where detox is going. Most of the clients are going into Gateway for treatment. That's the state facility.
Okay.
So back to your question, if they're coming from Gateway 4 to 6 months, we know they have a foundation. There's probably a good chance this isn't a client that will not do the year-long process.
Got it.
They've already got some of that.
I did not know about Gateway either.
Yeah.
And that's in Dover?
Delaware City.
Delaware City, okay.
I want to divert a little bit. This is a question I've been thinking about. Marijuana. You started this off initially and said, that was my first drug. We smoked it at 15. They're talking about legalizing it.
Yeah.
What's your guys' thoughts? I mean, you just said that you went from using marijuana to other stuff, and progressively it got
Well, you had to
worse.
start with beer.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
started
it was
with
liquor
beer.
and
That's a
marijuana
gateway
at the
drug.
same time.
I have a big problem with it. And the other problem I have is I talked to my wife about this today before we came to do the show. I said, is it strange that every show we watch, they're drinking? I mean, okay, they're not smoking anymore, but they're drinking. Every show, they got wine.
So what do you think about the legalization of marijuana?
That's tough, man. I mean, you know, I don't really have a stance on it. I feel like, hey, man, some people can drink, have a good time, go to work
Right.
the next day, good for them.
And some people
can
can't.
smoke pot,
And
go
you
to
know
work
you
the next
can't.
day, good for them. I'm not one of them. That's it. That's
Right.
all I know. You know.
And that's
I go
the main
hard
part.
with
That's
that.
as
That
good
is
as
a
it
great
gets.
answer.
Yeah.
That is a
perfect
great
as it
answer.
gets.
I think you're right. It's all individual.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
But I like what he said before. He said, you know, like Mike asked him about secondhand smoke. He said, well, you know, I don't have anything in common with those people anymore, so I don't, I don't go there, and that's a good answer, because you're right, you don't. They have a different way of thinking.
yeah. Like he was asking, you know, do you still have fun? Do you still go to parties and stuff? And I had answered that I still have fun, but I just don't party, I guess, with the same people because I just we grew apart, you know.
Who are your new friends?
It's a lot of people that are in the program in AA or you know, I mean, I have a lot of friends outside the program. That,
Do you tell everybody that?
That I'm like a member
Friends?
of AA?
Yeah,
That you're
or
friends
no,
with,
and
that you
I
went
know
through
AA
this.
is anonymous, but do you tell everybody, oh, you know, I had a problem, and like if you go out on a date with a girl and she says, oh, you know, you're gonna have a glass of wine? No, I don't drink.
Thank God I already have a girlfriend that I don't have to do that with.
Does your
she
girlfriend
knows?
know?
Yeah.
She does? Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Did she have a problem?
Did she? Yeah, actually, yeah.
Oh, so neither of you drink?
No, we don't. Yeah, it's.
I'm just
it's
that
easy.
I would wonder how if
So
one
she-
did and one didn't. Like,
Right.
No, he said that she had some
Yes.
addiction issues.
Yeah, back it's a long time ago. Yeah.
But they just that isn't part of your, you know, you save that $25, that tip that goes on to the end
big.
of the bill.
Yeah.
How many people do you know, and this is for both you and Sean, how many people do you know on the outside world that you tell that you've had a problem? And your family, does everybody in your family know?
For the most part.
You too, Sean?
I'm pretty much an open book. You know,
You seem to be. I mean,
life of addiction is the complete
Right.
opposite. It's just nobody, you know, you put on masks and you try to live a life that's never
Right.
you. I don't think it's any surprise that for me, the complete opposite is the benefit. When I've had, I always joke, a Comcast come over and do cable and they see something in the room and they'll make a comment, then I make a comment, the next thing you know, oh, my uncle is da-da-da-da.
Yeah, right,
da-da.
right.
Here we
Right.
go. And you know what? It's okay. It's now different people, not everybody does that. But for me, that's...
well, the
that's-
thing they say about, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever Anonymous is anonymous, you know, and that's why I'm asking you that, because when we had the 4 people on, and in fact 2 of them were going to the university, we darkened their faces
Yeah.
per their request.
Sure.
And, you know,
Should you be talking to 7th and 8th graders before that they have time to get into this? We're sad to say, Joe and I are both on the Healthy Living, on the School Health Committee in Healthy Living, and there's still 15% of the kids are drinking before they even get to the 8th grade. Now, it's 85% aren't, but 15% are. You know that those people that are drinking in 7th and 8th grade are much more at risk of having addiction problems than those who didn't. I can't give you the stats on it, but it sure makes sense to me. The horse sense or the orthopedic sense on this one is way high.
Well, do either of you guys talk in schools and things like that? Do you guys go and talk about the things you've gone through? And
I have not in a school setting. I know that they have a program that's set up for that, you know, where certain people go and do that. But I've done it in other places, you know, I mean, not specifically
Rick, you would be
younger
quite
kids.
effective at that. I think that may be a
Think for
calling for you,
Right,
to
right.
go in and talk to the young people and say, I've been there and I started, and you know what, it's not fun. This is something that you can say no.
To relate to younger people, sure.
I mean, you told us you're from here. Most people would know you. I mean, especially how Delaware's so small.
Yeah.
I mean, it would work.
And I think it's important. I think because, like Mike said, you know, they're starting younger and younger.
Well, we're down
younger.
to our last segment, last minute.
No.
Yeah, we are.
No. We have one more segment, right?
No, this is it.
I
No.
can't believe it.
No, we're all done.
All right.
Lies when you're having
we
fun.
want to thank Rick Hidalgo and Sean McCauley for coming down and talking about Limen House. And is there a website, Rick?
There is. I am blanking out on the website.
Well, it's
But if you
Limen
look at
House because my
Limen
wife got it today.
Yeah.
So limenhouse.com or something close to that. And certainly anybody that needs to do that, a parent or a child, can call up Limen House and try to get some information from Sean and to find out, just to listen.
Sure.
And that's a big deal. But we want to really thank you guys for coming down. I'm sorry we missed the young ladies, but maybe we'll get them next time.
There you go.
Join us next week on Youth in Sports. Tell your friends about us. Watch us on the web, www.youthinsports.com. Good night, guys.
What does opportunity mean to you? At Wilmington University, it means finding your relevance in the job market. That's why we offer career-oriented degree programs that meet employment needs in emerging fields. Dedicated professors bring their real-world experience into the classroom so you'll graduate with the tools you need to succeed on the job. It's your degree. Make it relevant to your career. Personalized education, affordable tuition, that's the difference at Wilmington University.
This show was sponsored by ATI, the company taking physical therapy to a higher level throughout the country. First State Orthopedics, where Youth in Sports hosts Drs. Straight and Axe are members of the team taking care of Delaware with a commitment to excellence. And President Jack Barcelona and his Wilmington University College of Technology, where each semester this student-run program is produced, directed, edited, and distributed under the guidance of the TV production faculty. Each guest receives a copy of the show, and all shows are available on the web at youthinsports.com.